Welcome back to Salt and Burn This, a supernatural rewatch podcast. I'm Sami.
I'm Valerie.
Welcome back.
Hello, Sami.
Hi. I can't believe it's the end of April and I'm still freezing.
I was just going to say, you're wearing a blanket.
I am.
Oh my god!
And I can't even blame it on I just got the second vaccination shot the other day, which did leave me a night of severe chills and fever dreams. But I don't think that this is a residual of that. No,
I think it's cold. Is that what you're saying?
Just cold.
It's actually cold out. Yeah, it's not cold here. It's not. What is it? It's wait. Oh no, I'm not gonna tell you.
Please don't.
Okay.
Makes me sad. Although I'm going to Phoenix in a few days, in which I'll be in 100-degree weather. So,
but it's a dry heat.
Yeah, fuck off, you dry heat people. It's still 100 degrees. Are you kidding me? It's a dry heat. You're fine. No,
I was in Arizona. I remember flipping through like postcards and stuff, and one of them was a picture of a skeleton, and it said at the bottom, "Yeah, but it's a dry heat."
Yes. Accurate.
Yo. I thought it was funny. All right, so note to self, Sami not in a joking mood when she's cold. I had something I was going to tell you today, and I have since forgotten because my brain is mush.
Yeah.
It is still mush. I was hoping that after all this time of banter in the closet, that I would have gotten better at speaking and putting, thoughts into motion. Yeah. And it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened. I was talking to a friend on the phone today, which was weird in and of itself. And I couldn't put my thoughts together. I was just responding like, uh-huhs, uh-huh. I couldn't add to the conversation. It's weird. Am I ever gonna, I mean, how did we ever function before this? I have one task during the day sometimes, and I'm overwhelmed by this one task looming over me. And it's something as ridiculous as like, take out the recycling. That's the one thing I have to do today. And until I get it done, I'm stressed about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a weird phenomenon, and I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what to name it. I'm sure therapists have named it, but they haven't diagnosed me with anything yet. So
yeah, I mean, tomorrow I have to go pick up some audio equipment for a gig. I have 2 Zoom meetings and a dentist appointment. And I'm a little stressed out.
Wow.
I mean, picking up audio equipment will take me 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Dentist appointment, I'm hoping will not take another 2 hours. This is not a continuing of the previous dentist appointment. This is this is upkeep. This is an okay thing. And then the 2 Zooms are just like checking in to make sure that the equipment I picked up is the equipment we need for, the upcoming. So it's not a big deal, but it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do something tomorrow. And I wonder if it's just because, oh my gosh, you have to get up and get dressed. Or
maybe, and have to go see people.
Yeah.
Go out in the wild, which you're not used to doing. I think once you start to get going, for me, and it's not this way for everybody, but if I have a very busy day, I feel better about it than I do if I only have 1 or 2 things scheduled that day. Yeah. And I'm less stressed with a busier day because I'm kind of on an adrenaline rush. It's just like, okay, ping, 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 going from one thing to the next, and you don't have time to stop or think about it.
Right.
And I'm more productive when I'm overscheduled than if I don't really have anything to do.
Right, because it's hard to sit down and do the one thing that you need to do because it's only one thing, and you can keep putting it off until you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I'm the best at putting things off.
I'm number 1. I remember what I was going to tell you.
Okay.
I had a small show yesterday, and I had a break between the final rehearsal and the start of the show. So
Mm-hmm.
I ran to Panera, which was like my first time going to any type of like quote restaurant,
Yeah.
Panera. And so I grabbed like a soup and a sandwich and a drink. And my favorite drink at Panera is their iced green tea.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a papaya green tea. And so while I was waiting for my food, I was drinking the iced tea. And then when my food, came, I refilled my iced tea and I
Mm-hmm.
left. I can't drink iced tea before a show because it goes right through me. And it is like, what is it when you drink a lot of beer? You're not supposed to go to the
Oh, you
bathroom
break the
because
seal.
break the seal. That is me with iced tea. And so when I got back to the studio, I was like, oh, let me just go to the bathroom before we, get things started. And 3 minutes into the show, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like, I've never had to go to the bathroom this bad before. I was like, Valerie cannot have iced tea before a show. It tasted so good.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was the worst pain.
Okay. Well, do you need a potty break before we get into this one?
No, because I don't have any iced tea.
Great.
Water, fine. Coffee, fine. No, let's go. Come on. Let's go. I'm good.
All right.
Test my
Let's
bladder.
Go. Season 1, Episode 15, The Benders. Sam and Dean head to Minnesota, where a young boy witnesses a man vanishing into thin air. Just a disclaimer, I don't have my DVD box with me because I'm traveling, and I was trying to travel light, so this is the Netflix version, which...
Boo.
Still boo. Written by John Shaban and directed by Peter Ellis.
Not a bad episode.
No, I thought it was nice and creepy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And fun fact, and it has nothing to do with any of the substance of the content or anything, but it was released on Valentine's Day of that year.
Hey, honey, you want to watch Supernatural?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, point of fact, why Netflix is wrong. The little boy who sees the man disappear into thin air later says, like, one of the first things he says is, I saw him get grabbed by something and dragged under a car.
Yeah.
So why Netflix even bothered to say disappear into thin air is...
Well, I mean, they've bothered to say a lot of other wrong things, too.
I know.
So,
I'm just pointing out the wrongness
right.
of their wrong.
Yeah. So this episode opens up with a Hibbing, Minnesota, Chiron, which is a real town.
Yay.
A little boy is watching a movie in, I'm guessing, an apartment complex, although it also kind of looked like a motel. It was hard to, because it looked lived in, and he had his stuff around. And
I think it was just a crappy apartment building.
Yeah. So he's watching a movie. He's got a little dinosaur toy near the TV, which I noticed the second time around. And he hears some noises, and he looks outside, and there's a man taking the trash out. The man hears like some scraping noises. The subtitle said something about chains dragging on the ground. Looks under the car, and then just gets pulled under the car.
Right.
Real quickly.
By something. Yeah, he's like,
mm-hmm.
And then he's pulled onto his face and dragged under the car with like the hands, clawing out from under the like, no, his hands scraping on the road.
Yeah.
And then some weird like metallic clanking sounds, and the little boy is still seeing this, and he's just like frozen in the window like, oh. So I have to interrupt you and say I recognize this little boy.
Really?
Yeah. He's got some fairly remarkable features, but he was on Stargate. He was on an episode of Stargate where he had a standalone role. It wasn't just like a walk-on. I mean, it was a walk-on, but he had a very substantial role on this episode. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And while I'm at it, the guy who got dragged under the car, the character's name Alvin Jenkins, John Cuthbert, was also on Stargate.
He was the last minute. Yeah, he was the last minute addition. There was supposed to be somebody else, and he couldn't make it, and so they had to find. Yeah, they had to find somebody that could fit the costume. It was like that last minute. It's like we can't get new clothes, so we have to get somebody who can fit this one.
These jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah, why couldn't he? Oh, He was caught the original guy was caught in a snowstorm, so he couldn't make it.
Oh, what a
Yeah.
drag.
I know.
What a drag. Well, I did mention the little boy's name is Ryan Drescher. And he played this cute little boy. I mean, it was years earlier. So if he was cute in this episode as a cute little boy, he was like even cuter as a younger boy. So the next thing you see after the little boy, you know, backing away from the window is like a little scared by what he just saw is I guess the police were called, and the mom and the little boy are now trying to explain to the police what they saw. But lo and behold, it's not the police, it's Sam and Dean.
Yeah, they take off their little Mountie hats and
I said A+ for costumes on them.
yeah.
You know, that they've moved past just, you know, badges or, you know, ID cards or suits.
Mormon
they
suits.
are in a full-blown deputy's costume. And and the mom isn't buying any of this. Like, the little boy's explaining that he saw something potentially monstrous, you know. And the mom's like, oh yeah, so you think you heard and saw monsters? Tell them what you were watching on TV when this happened. And the little boy's like, Godzilla.
Yeah.
Which Dean like hooks onto right away. He's like, oh, which one? The original or the, you know, the remake? Although I do love that Dean got a chance to bust on Sam. And Dean points to Sam. He's like, I bet he likes the remake. And the little boy's like, ew, gross. Little bonding moment.
But before they leave, the little boy does say, you know, he heard a noise that sounded like a whining growl. So something like a monster. That will come back later. That's why I pointed that out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's interesting that a little boy, like, describing what he thinks is monsters to people who chase monsters.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is going to be a monster.
Yeah.
You know, because it looks like a monster, quacks like a monster.
Yeah. Okay, so then the boys, out of their Mountie costumes, are at a bar discussing the case. Could be a kidnapping, but it could be something else since there was a sign of a struggle. But something important to note is that Dad has marked the area in his journal because there are tons of missing people in this area. There's like more per capita than the entire state.
Yeah, it's like a hot spot for missing people. So they decide that maybe they can stick around and just check things out. And would they say it might be a phantom gasser? Now, I know on the last episode I went and looked up all the things that they said it might be. I did not look up phantom gasser. So
I didn't even hear phantom gasser. I mean, I'm not doubting that they said it. I wrote down they talked about local folklore of a dark figure grabbing people, and that's all I caught.
Well, I'm glad I only caught the name and didn't do any research on it. So.
Right. So Sam wants to get to work and Dean wants to drink, which prompts Dean to call Sam Grandma.
But he still goes along with Sam. You know, it's like, fine, we'll go back to the motel. But I have to go to the bathroom first because they've been at a bar drinking and shooting darts and doing Dean things while Sam was doing Sam things, which was researching. So Sam's like, fine, and he goes out to the car. While Dean goes to the bathroom, and he's out there by the car, and he hears a noise, and is scared by a cat.
Yes.
And he's kind of laughing at himself, and he stands up and he's like, well, maybe it wasn't anything, and then we don't see Sam again.
Yeah, he like relaxes and stands up against the car, and you just see the camera underneath the car still looking at his feet.
Yeah.
And then the next shot is Dean coming out of the bar, and he doesn't see Sam. He just sees the journal and the research on top of the car. But
no Sam.
But no Sam.
And asks around, looks around. It's like, he's gone. He's not there. So he goes to the cops. He meets up with Deputy, what is it, Kathleen? Deputy Kathleen. And he's explaining that, you know, we have a missing person and I saw security cameras. Can we look at them? But he introduces himself as
Officer Washington.
Yeah. So now he's got a badge.
Yes.
You know, for Gregory Washington. And I think the deputy is a little skeptical, but not I mean, she's by the books. She's a by the books
Yeah.
kind of person. So she's
Mhm.
listening to what he has to say about his missing
Mhm.
cousin, right? He
Yeah.
calls,
Mhm.
and so the deputy is looking up Sam Winchester, and reading his stats, and it's like, oh, it's got a brother who was murdered, or was
Yeah.
killed and was wanted for murder. Oh, shady past. And Dean's like, yeah, he was the black sheep of the family. Handsome though.
I know.
Always tooting his little horn.
Yeah. So she gives good news that she does have access to that traffic camera footage, but she still
Yeah.
wants to do it the right way, makes him fill out the missing persons form. And I think at this point she was just like, no, you can't come with me, but
But Dean doesn't take no for an answer, and he's able to convince her to at least let him go with her building, I guess. He convinces her to let him tag along.
yeah.
Um
Yeah. And while this is happening, we cut to Sam, who is alive, but in a cage.
Yeah,
somewhere.
like in this really ratty cage. But I mean, it's like big. It's not like an animal cage. It's like a big human size cage.
Yeah.
It's not a cell. It's not like he can walk around.
No,
in it.
no. It's like a cage made for a large animal. There's another guy in the cage in a different cage next to him.
Dun dun dun.
There's Sam and this other guy who we assume is Jenkins.
Assume is
although
the
we don't
missing
know that yet.
Jenkins. Yeah.
Kathleen comes back to Dean with images from the traffic camera. She shows a big, giant, trashy looking trailer.
Right, camper trailer thing.
Yeah, that left the bar right about the time that Sam went missing. And that same trailer was actually in the parking lot of the apartment complex in the beginning.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Like Jenkins walks right towards it, like he hears the noises, after he throws the trash away or something, or maybe it's when he's throwing the trash away. But it's there, like he's walking towards it.
Oh my gosh! I never noticed that.
I did the second time, but not the first time. But they noticed that it has this junky trailer has brand new plates on the back of it, so it's probably stolen. And while they're talking about that, there's another junky van that drives behind them, making a racket,
clankety clank screeching noise. Sounds a little bit like what the little boy heard the night that Jenkins disappeared.
A whining growl.
Whining
like a monster.
growl.
So back in the cages, the other man wakes up. Sam figures that he's Jenkins and he's correct, and he's just like, what does it look like? The people that, the things that you've seen.
This guy, Jenkins, like, for someone who doesn't know much about what happened to him, he seems to know a lot at the same time. No, I take that back. He supposedly knows a lot, but he really knows nothing. Where are we? Well, we must be in the country. It smells like the country. Well, we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, how do you know so much? But no, he's like so knowledgeable, but then he doesn't know what's going on. I mean, he knows what time the guys come back to, check on them, feed him. Anyway, it was like he's knowledgeable, but he is no help. I guess that's the bottom line. He is no help to Sam.
Yeah, not really. He's just
kind of being a jerk for someone who could have, found some solidarity in being thrown in a cage with somebody. Yeah.
But he has also been in a cage for, I don't know, a few days, I'm guessing.
A few days, yeah.
But while they're talking, there are two figures that come in, like in hoods. They open up Jenkins' cage, throw a plate of, I don't know, some sausages or something in there, gross, and they leave.
Yeah, of course. And Jenkins is like, get away from me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. He's all afraid of having this, like, Ned Beatty deliverance moment. Which
he mentions later.
Which, have you seen Deliverance?
I've only seen a couple scenes, and that was enough for me.
Okay.
I don't really
what
have the desire to...
But you know what he's talking about,
yes?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, but this is also when Sam realizes, though, that it's people. There's nothing supernatural here. At least in this moment, it's people who grab them and not monsters or demons.
Yeah, and he's shocked. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's just people.
People. Right. And it's almost like he's relieved. It's like, okay, we can figure this one out.
I didn't feel like he was relieved. I think he was more like kind of, later in the episode. Nope, I'm not going to spoil it yet. But I think he's like, I don't know how to deal with people like this. I know how to deal with a demon or a monster, because there's rules,
Right. Right.
A
But how do
ghost, you
you
salt and burn the thing, or if it's
It's a werewolf,
Wendigo,
you
you
shoot him in
blow
the
it up.
heart with
Yeah,
silver bullets. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So back to so Dean's left, I mean, Sam's left the realization that these are people. Kathleen, in the meantime, has been kind of subtly researching Dean,
Mhm.
or at least Gregory Washington,
Yeah.
on her, on her police computer, and she finds out that his badge has been stolen. And she confronts Dean about it. And I love this. She's really subtle about it. She's not like
Yeah, yeah,
freaked
yeah.
out. She's not panicked. She's not
Mhm.
accusatory. She's like, hey, we always do a background check when we do this type of, interdepartmental communications or whatever. And it looks like your badge has been stolen. And she like turns the screen so Dean can see it. And you find that like Gregory Washington is like overweight black man.
Yeah.
And Dean's like, well, I've lost weight. I have that Michael Jackson skin thing. She's like, nope, nope,
Yeah,
nope. All right,
stop.
just gonna stop
Stop.
you right there. Stop you right there. But again, she doesn't like freak out. She's like, you know what? I got to turn this car around, take you back to the station. And
Mhm,
Dean
mhm.
is once again able to say, wait,
Yeah.
seriously, don't do this. I need to find Sam.
Yeah. And he was like, I will let you arrest me, but
Mhm.
after we do this, we have to do this now. The
Yeah.
time is of the essence. And at first she doesn't go with it, but then she glances up at this photo that she has attached to her visor.
Her visor, right. Right.
And then puts her seatbelt back on and says, okay, after we find Sam Winchester.
And so you're assuming off they go to start looking for where
Mhm.
this camper could have gone.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so in the meantime, Sam is trying to Sammy.
Don't call him Sammy.
Don't call him Sammy. I actually wrote that down. I was like, can we please stop with Sam saying that? Because he says it again. Jenkins is like, so what's your name again? It's Sam. Well, I'll tell you what, Sammy, we gotta.
Yeah.
Like, can we stop that?
A recurring gag that I think they tried out and quickly learned it wasn't really working, but not quickly
real quick,
enough.
I think I was like, they're still doing it, and it's still grating on us. But because Sam is actively trying to find a way out of the cage. He's like rattling he's like pulling on things, kicking the bars.
Yes, what I think he was trying to do, because I was a little confused the first go around, is he was kind of trailing where the lock kind of automatically.
Oh, because it's
locks.
powered. It's an electric
It's
lock.
power,
yeah.
And I think maybe he was looking up at what he thought was like a hydraulics pipe of some kind, so that's what he was pulling on.
Maybe
and then it was he was energized by the guy calling him Sammy, and he's just like, no, call me Sammy.
Got it. And that's made him strong enough to yank loose that thing. Okay.
Pulls the pipe, and then a bracket falls down.
Yeah, so now he's got at least metal, like hard metal
just
in
like,
the cage.
oh, it's a bracket. And I thought maybe it was just to know. Yeah, Jenkins was, that was kind of funny, though. Yeah, it's like, great, a bracket. We're saved.
You're not doing a very good job of rescuing me.
Yeah. I thought maybe this was just to note that the hydraulic pipe wasn't actually attached to the lock in any kind of way. It was just for show. I don't know. That, I wasn't sure what the reason was for him pulling on the pipe.
Maybe he just wasn't able to. I think maybe if it was electric, he was trying to disconnect the power.
Right.
And he wasn't able to, but he was able to knock loose the bracket that was holding the cables down. I don't know.
Right. But also at the same time, Jenkins' cage opens. And it's just his cage. Sam is still locked in. Right. I think. Or
yeah, that's exactly right. Sam's doesn't open.
Yeah, and he warns him, he's like, no, this looks fishy to me. I don't know why it would have just opened like that.
Yeah, don't leave your cage. Don't get in. Of course, Jenkins gets out of the cage. And Sam is still like, get back in the cage. Come back. Don't. Jenkins doesn't hear him at all.
No, he's just like, go get help.
This is our chance. Yeah. And he leaves. And he leaves Sam behind. And runs off. And then he's in the woods, and he like manages to find a knife
Yeah.
that just happens to be like on his escape route.
Yeah.
And he's still not like scratching his head like, my door opened. Oh, look, there's a knife.
Yeah, and
you know.
the door closed behind him, like to that room, not his cage, but the room that the cages are in. The door shuts and locks behind him when he leaves.
Oh, I thought it was his cage door that closed and locked. It was the door
It may be.
to like the barn.
I was
It
having
was
a hard
dark.
time deciphering what doors were what, and
Yeah, it was dark. It was a very dark episode. So, I mean, literally lighting wise,
yes,
it
the
was hard to
lighting.
see.
So yes, he finds this knife just sitting there in the mud, and I thought, has he never read The Most Dangerous Game? Is that
What this entire
was that not
episode
on
is
his
based
literature list?
We haven't gotten there yet, Sammy.
Okay.
It hasn't happened to him yet, so how would he know? So he thinks he's free, so he's running through the woods, and out jumps like this guy who like hits him, with a shovel or something. Doesn't knock him out, but hits him hard enough to like kind of discombobulate. Is that the word?
Yes,
Discombobulate.
discombobulate.
I always jokingly say discombobulate, and I say that jokingly, but then I always forget what I'm supposed to actually say. So discombobulated. And then out jumps this other guy, and now they're chasing what's his name? Alvin. No, that's Jenkins. Alvin.
Well, it's
Alvin's his first name.
Alvin Jenkins. But Jenkins is a much more fun name to say.
Okay.
Jenkins.
Get back here, Jenkins. So Jenkins is off and running. He put up a fight. It's not like he just, he got hit and he got hit hard, but he fights back and he's able to, fight these guys off. But they end up like intentionally chasing him. He doesn't know this, down this path where there's like a tripwire.
Yes.
And he trips on it and he falls, and they just fall on him, and they end up, would they stab him to death with like spears?
Yeah, well, first,
something?
before he gets to the tripwire, when it's just like the one guy chasing him, then the second guy shows up and pierces his calf with something. I think that pole or an arrow or something.
Oh, okay.
So that makes him kind of gimpy. And they let him run off. He's like slowly walking away, and they wait a few seconds and like, oh, we're gonna
wounded prey now.
Yeah.
And they're laughing. They're like laughing.
Yes.
They're not giggling. They're like, huh. I mean, ugh. I hate. Yeah. Ugh. But they do kill him, and they spear him to death, and that none too kindly either, because Sam can hear the screams, and that's not just like, I'm dead. It's like multiple. This man suffered and he died. Yes. And this reminded me, when I finally got to this point in the episode, I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of a Criminal Minds episode that I watched that a friend of mine was on, and I remember because he was.
Is this the Scott guy?
Yes, Scott Rinker is. He's camping in the woods, and this girl who's being chased by two hunters in the exact same situation, these two backwood hillbillies hunt people. So she goes running through my friend Scott's camp and ends up getting everybody in that camp killed, except for my friend Scott, who's now running along with her for his life. And I remember calling Scott and being like, do you die soon? Because I cannot take any more of this woman screaming in the woods. And he's like, yes, I do die soon. So, and thankfully his character was killed by the hunting hillbillies. But
thankfully the good guy who didn't deserve to be murdered was murdered.
Yes. Sorry, Scott. My shout out to you on this episode was Criminal Minds, as he's done so many other things, but I chose this moment to highlight.
Sidebar very quickly. In the last episode, you didn't know why it was called the Benders, and I told you it was because it was their last name.
Yeah,
which I don't think they ever say in the episode besides the ending credits, when they list who played who. But I was on IMDb, I was looking up something else, but I traveled to the trivia, which I honestly try not to do unless I'm searching for a question, which I was at this point, but not this question. But I stumbled across a little paragraph where they talk about a real-life family called the Benders. So then I Wikipedia'd something real quick. Yes. So in like the 1870s, there was a family with the last name of the Benders, who lived in Osage Township, Kansas, which is like the southeast quadrant.
Kansas.
Yes, of Kansas, who would lure people into their inn and kill them by just bashing their heads over the side with a hammer and slitting their throats.
Oh my
And
God.
for no other reason than just it was fun or for the thrill of it. And they
Oh,
got caught because people kept trying to chase down their neighbors or their their friends and stuff. So like somebody would go settle in Iowa and then they disappeared. And then their friend or old neighbors said, I haven't heard from them in a while. I'm going to go see what
look for
happened to
them.
them. And they would go travel and then they would disappear. And then that guy's brothers were like, my brother disappeared. I haven't heard from him in,
Oh my
weeks,
gosh.
and I should have from now on. And then they go. And by that point, I think they kind of
Somebody
caught
caught on.
on. Yeah, somebody caught on, and then the Benders disappeared and took everything, and they destroyed the property. Like they literally moved the cabin that they were using as an inn out of the way so they could look underneath the cellar and stuff and see if there were bodies there because they saw blood and stuff. But they
Oh,
found like a bunch of bodies buried in their garden in their yard.
oh my
Um,
God.
so this was sort of, I mean, there's a lot of hearsay in this story, and it's hard to tell if they ever did get caught. There were some people who claimed to be the Benders, but then there weren't, and some people the opposite. It was like, no, I'm not, and it was like, well, yeah, you were at one point. You changed your name.
But wow.
And then in the same Wikipedia article, there's a ton of they called like references to the Benders in media, and this episode was one of them.
Oh,
In Super, yeah. And
they were even mentioned on Supernatural.
yeah, kind of. It was like a bunch. It was like a bulleted list of TV shows, movies, books, things that kind
that
of
based their stories
use this as
on the
as
Benders.
inspiration.
Wow. Now, did they, we don't know this yet in our episode, but did this family, the actual Benders, did they do the things that beyond killing that this family is portrayed to have done in this episode?
As far as we know, no.
Just the killing, just random
Yeah.
killing of people and hiding their
Yeah.
bodies on the property. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Okay.
really cool though. All right. Yeah. So we find out that Kathleen, Deputy Kathleen, has a little soft spot for Dean in his quest to help his cousin Sam
Mhm.
because her brother went missing and she feels responsible.
Yeah.
Not for him going missing, but like she was always responsible for him, just the way Dean feels responsible for Sam in his growing up. And all we know is that he's gone missing, and she doesn't know what happened to him. So that's why she wants to help Dean.
Yeah.
So I love this character, and I love this actress.
I did too. Mhm.
I love this.
I didn't know her from anything else. She's been in a lot of things, but not things that I've watched. But I did like her in this.
Yeah, I recognized her
role.
from NCIS. She has such striking eyes.
Yes, I couldn't stop staring at her eyeballs.
Yeah, I was like,
"They're
I
so
know those
blue."
eyes. I know
Yeah.
those eyes, and it was
Mhm.
it's because she was on on a number of episodes on NCIS.
Yeah.
Oh, but gosh, she was so good, and this was such a great character.
Yeah. So they're back in the car and they notice
Like a dirt road pull off.
yes. It's not a
Yeah.
paved road, but it's definitely a spot where cars have been in and out
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So they get out and they go, and she's just like, "No, you wait here, I'll go." And he's like, you're gonna need me on this one." And she says, "Oh, okay, deal. Shake on it or something." And she tricks him.
Yeah.
She's tricksy.
She's like, she handcuffs him to the car. And he's like, he can't believe it happened to him, but he's not like upset. He just is like, man, I gotta start carrying paper clips with me.
Yes. Nice little callback to the first episode.
Yes, exactly. So so Deputy Kathleen ends up like traipsing down this back country road and finds a dilapidated old house. She knocks on the door, no one answers, and then suddenly the door opens and there's like this little girl, like completely unkempt and bedraggled. And immediately Kathleen has concern for this little girl and is like, is your mom home? No, she's dead. How about your dad? No. No. And then while she's standing there, the little girl looks up at her and is like, oh, that's gonna hurt.
Well, she shows her a picture of Sam.
That's right. I was like, how did that
yeah, Kathleen is trying to like get here. She's like, "Can I come in?" And she's like, "No."
Right.
She's like, "Okay, I just want you to look at a picture and let me know if you've seen this person." And while she's looking at the picture, then she looks up with this
I
like
haven't seen
evil
this.
little grin.
Yeah. Yep. I haven't seen him, but that's gonna hurt. And just at the last second, Kathleen kind of looks up and catches, not in time, the somebody wails her in the head with a shovel.
Yeah.
And the guy who hit the deputy with the shovel is like, go tell your brothers that I need to go see them. This little girl's like, yes, daddy. That is
Yeah.
the most creepy, frightening little girl. Oh my gosh. I always say that ghost kids are creepy. The fact that this little girl is alive and is this like dead on the inside.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, daddy. That's going to be in my nightmares. She was fantastic.
She was.
So the next scene we see is back in the barn, back in the like caged area, and we see this figure walking into the barn. We only see it from like the feet. The feet come into the barn.
Not
and the
yet.
Camera...
Not yet.
Did I miss a...
Yes, because the brothers, Dean is trying to tear the antenna off of the cop car so he can free himself. And then he hears the screechy car, and he's just like, oh, fuck, I better hurry up. And it's like one of those close, too close for comfort things where he finally does take the antenna off as the two hillbilly brothers are coming towards the cop car. Because they're just, trying to get rid of the evidence, basically.
Right. They don't know that Dean's there.
Yeah.
But he almost gets caught. Will he get caught? Will he get caught?
Yes.
And then he's able to escape, free himself from the cuffs. And not only free himself from the cuffs, but he, like, they're not left dangling on the car handle.
Yeah.
Like, he was able to get both
everything.
sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I tried to stop taking really detailed notes, and now I've missed things like that whole scene of Dean, like, just not able to reach. So it's like there's tension, but it's comical because it's Dean. And right now, Dean's kind of the comic relief of this episode. But at the same time, is he going to get caught? Are these hillbillies going to find him, catch him, kill him?
Yeah, because that's like
throw him in
prime.
the cage?
He's cuffed to a car,
Right. So
easy kill.
So the two brothers end up not catching Dean because they didn't see him because Dean escaped the handcuffs in time. But they do take the cop car and drive it back to the house. And in the meantime, the door opens to the barn.
Yeah, well, Kathleen has now replaced Jenkins in that cage.
Right? And she's kind of a bloody mess. Yeah.
Yeah, but she wakes up and Sam checks in on her, says, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "You must be Sam Winchester. Your cousin's looking for you." And he's like, "Oh, thank God. Where is he?" I handcuffed him to the car.
Okay, now do the legs come in?
Yes, now the legs come in. Now the door opens.
Now the door opens, and these legs come in. And at first, you're made to think that it's, the guy's coming, one of the brothers. But as soon as the camera gets up to the knees of this guy, it's like it's Jensen Ackles. It's those bow legs. You can't. They're not bow legs like that anywhere else in TV, and it's just. I kind of giggled at that. I was like, Jensen Ackles, bow legs. But they also didn't focus. I mean, the next thing they do is they go and show that it's Dean.
Yeah, it's not that slow a pull.
It's not, but it's enough to be like, who is it? It's Dean. Yeah. And Dean doesn't see them yet. Like he's kind of snooping around. He's trying to like find out if there's anything in this barn. And is it Sam that sees him? He's like, Dean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and they're relieved to see each other, thank God. And that's when Sam says, it's nothing supernatural, it's just people. Yeah. It's just people who did this. And Dean, again, comic relief, is like, and you still got jumped. What does he say? He calls him a little girl.
He says, getting a little rusty there, kiddo.
That's what it is. Just
because
people.
That will come back.
Yeah, I know. You're getting rusty there if it's just people and you're still in the cage.
Yeah. Kathleen is surprised to see him out of the handcuffs.
Right.
Says,
how'd you do that? But she also figures out that her brother has been killed because Dean says that he saw there's cars in the backyard that have been there a while, and she describes her brother's car, and Dean says, yeah, that car is in the backyard. So she realizes that her brother's been killed.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
It is sad. So Dean leaves to go find a key, because that's the only way to really open the cage. Otherwise there's like a remote or something from the house that opens the other door. And he goes into either the house or in the cellar, somewhere.
Yeah, somehow he gets into the house. It was a weird jump. To, suddenly see Dean like inside a room. and he's surrounded by shelves. He had to turn on a flashlight. It doesn't look like the inside of a house, but then suddenly he turns a corner and he's in a house.
Yeah, he like goes up the stairs and it's in the house. But so
Yeah.
I thought maybe he went to a cellar door and turned into the
Yeah.
basement of the house. I don't know.
I guess.
They didn't show how he entered into that room. But just to note, this room is filled with really disturbing things. Like the
Yeah, it's
shelves
like
are filled with jars of
body
body
parts. Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
Polaroids everywhere of the
Dead
brothers.
people.
Yeah, like trophies. It's trophies of their
The
kill.
brothers posing with these dead things. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just like, African game hunters who pose the bodies of these dead animals that they've killed.
Not
and
even just African game hunting. Even people who just hunt deer, they do that too. If it's a big enough 12 point or
10-point
whatever.
buck or
I don't
whatever,
know
yeah.
the thing. I don't know the
I don't either.
terminology, but they take pictures with dead animals, proud
Right.
of them killing this animal.
Right. Yeah, and Dean says, I've said it before, demons I get, people are crazy.
Mm-hmm. So then Dean turns the corner, as you said, walks up the stairs and finds himself inside of the house.
Which is this crappy rundown.
Oh my god, it's terrible. You know what else I accidentally stumbled on IMDb?
I just want to tell you how much I'm enjoying you stumbling on stuff on IMDb. Go ahead.
This turns out later to also be Bobby Singer's house. Yeah, the set. They use that as Bobby Singer's house.
It's interesting because I was looking at it. I was like, what else could this house have been? But that's as far as my thoughts went. I didn't
recognize it without the clue, without the hint.
Right.
But then after I knew it, I said, oh, this is absolutely Bobby's house. And you can kind of tell on the outside, when they do a kind of a pan of the outside by the windmill thing, and you're like, oh, this is where Bobby keeps his field of cars. Also, like these people do.
Maybe a connection they didn't quite mean to make.
Right.
Totally changes Bobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now Dean is sneaking through this house. I'm assuming he's still looking for the keys, and he hears music. There's like an old Victrola playing, or a gramophone, whatever those are. One of those old record players is playing. And it's not bad music. It's what, Gershwin or something.
It's just like old-timey music.
It's kind of jaunty for given how dark and dank it is inside that house.
Yeah. And he keeps running into things like there's a wind chime made out of human jaw bones.
Yes. Dean not being very stealthy in a time when he should be, pretty stealthy.
Yeah.
The floor is creaking. But he does find the keys. He finds like a tin of keys.
Yeah.
And then he's like distracted by a jar of human teeth. And it's like while he's like looking at this jar of teeth, he hears like creaking again behind him, and he's like, oh, there's someone there. Yeah. So he puts the jar down and like turns real quick to see who's behind him, and it's Missy, the little girl.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know that she's this, psychopath, I guess.
Yeah.
And he turns to say, oh, it's okay, I'm here to help you. I won't hurt you.
And I think he's holding that pole that he found. There's like a pole with a giant nail sticking out of it or something.
Right. There's so many weapons in this house.
Yes, we turn to the corner and there's a weapon. But Missy also has her own little weapon, which is a very small but agile knife that she pulls out and throws it at Dean and sticks him into the wall, pretty much. I think it just hits his jacket, I think. But but
she throws it hard enough to pin him to the wall through his jacket. And then she
yells
starts
for Daddy.
Daddy!
Yes.
And the brothers come running and they all jump on Dean.
Yeah, totally kick his ass.
Yeah. And he's still got his fighting words though. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, and then I'm gonna kick your ass. And then Dad comes in and
kicks his ass with
with
a frying pan.
Not funny, but kind of funny.
Right. Yeah. Dean comes to tied to a chair with like this whole family of rednecks just staring him down. And
and their teeth. Ugh.
You know what? The makeup crew on this was amazing. They looked so grimy, like you could just scrape it off. Yeah.
You could smell their breath. That's how every time that Daddy would get in Dean's face, I was like, his breath must be Disastrous.
They do say something about the makeup, but they were like, no, we had to get the details right and just make it look like it was just ground into the cracks of their skin, you know?
Oh, yeah, they did. That was perfect.
I thought
I
they
mean,
did
it
a
was
very
great.
good
It was
job.
like, I wrote down hillbilly Yahoo to the extreme.
Yes.
I was cringing. I
Mhm.
just cringing the entire time. And
Yep.
so that makes me think, good job, you guys.
Totally.
Good.
So Dean wakes up tied to a chair. This whole hillbilly family are like talking about wanting to hunt him since he's a fighter. And Dean is just like, that's what you're doing? You're just hunting people? And then they go on this monologue of, you know,
what
ever
it's like to
killed
hunt.
before. Yeah.
I don't hate hunting and I don't hate hunters. I hate people who brag about hunting.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. The fact that the bigger the, I even took down a puma. It's like, yeah, but maybe you shouldn't have. And you didn't take it down, you shot it. There's no strength involved in what you did. There's no athleticism in what you did. What is there to brag about? That's what I don't like.
The joy that they find in hunting or killing as a sport. I'm not a fan
do not
of that.
appreciate that. So
No.
I understand hunting. I get it. I don't understand sport hunting.
Yeah.
Let alone killing people for sport. So,
yeah.
or meat for that matter.
But you know what? They don't ever show them eating the people. It's implied because in the kitchen earlier, the Paul or whatever is like grinding something. It sounds like he's sawing a tin can in half. Like that's what the sound was like.
Right.
But he's got like a butcher knife and things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think though, because clearly they've been dissecting people. If there's body parts in jars, they've extracted the teeth.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they are eating them, but they are definitely not just killing them and burying them.
So while they're monologuing about how great it is to hunt humans, the best, it makes you feel powerful, alive, and all that great southern drawl in the most disturbing way.
Not southern, it's hillbilly.
It's hillbilly, yeah. They make... Oh, I did write down. Oh, but they make it fair by giving them a weapon. Yeah, okay. You got like
Even though
3 people versus 1.
So they make Dean choose, though, right?
Right. Well, then they start to say, so, are there going to be other cops after you since you came with that pretty lady cop? Are there going to be more searching after you? Because they do mention, oh, we only take 1 or 2 a year, so people aren't too in a rush to be looking, which then made me ask, then why did they take Sam so quickly after they took Jenkins? Unless they do 2 at the same time, but that's when they start torturing him with the hot poker. They pull a hot poker out from the stove and they say, tell us people are going to follow you or we're going to put your eye out with this hot poker. They do get him once on the shoulder with the thing. And then that's when they make him choose. He's like, all right, we're going to do our hunt anyway, and you're going to choose who we're going to chase, the boy or the girl.
Yeah, except they call her the bitch, which multiple times, by the way. And then they go to press that poker into his eye, and at the last second, Dean, I think knowing that Sam could probably defend himself better than Kathleen could on a hunt, says, take the boy, take the guy.
Yeah.
And the dad says to the sons, all right, go kill the go kill the boy. And don't even open the cage, just shoot him in the cage. And Dean's like, wait, no, you can't change the rules. You said you were gonna, let him hunt. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And then the dad says, and kill the bitch too.
Yeah. They got to cover all their tracks. So he goes to shoot him.
But he opens the cage.
Well, I think what Pa said was like, don't let him out, just shoot him in the cage. Like, don't.
Right.
It's not a chase. It's not a hunt. It's just, shoot him in the cage.
But
I also don't understand why he opened the cage, but maybe to aim it better. I don't know. But anyway, he goes into the room, opens the cage, but Sam still has that bracket that he broke off earlier, and throws it at him, which I guess was enough of a defense mechanism.
Distraction.
And is able to wrestle him down to the ground and knock him out with the butt end of the rifle and takes the gun and tries to cock it, but it's jammed or something or busted.
Right.
So then Pa calls to Lee. He's not responding. So he takes the other brother, who was like Judd or Jared or something, and leaves Missy to watch over Dean. And she's just like standing there creepy, like pointing a knife right at his eyeball.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to say, that Jensen, Eric Kripke, said, the little girl in the benders with the greasy hair is arguably the scariest character we had this season. And then Jensen Ackles was like, she freaked me right out, throwing knives and screaming daddy, and there wasn't a whole lot of acting I had to do with that. I was legitimately scared.
I believe it. That she was amazing. She was amazing.
Did you recognize her?
No.
She comes back later in Supernatural. She ends up, remember when there's the episode with the Amazon women? There's a baby that grows up really fast.
That grows up like that? That's her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's her.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow, and that's some years later too. No, I didn't recognize her at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. Well, it's hard to, considering she's so grimed up and unkempt. Man, she was good.
Yeah. So Daddy and the other son go off to figure out why Lee isn't responding.
Mm-hmm.
And is this the brother who like thinks he hears something in the barn and like shoots at a cabinet or something? So he like
a little bit later, yeah.
Oh.
But he shoots at a cabinet because let's walk through this in time. The dad and the other brother go in. They see Lee knocked out in the cage, like locked inside of the cage because Sam took the key and released Kathleen. And they also somehow destroyed all the fuses so they can't turn the lights on in the barn. You go that way, I'll go this way, that kind of thing. So I think Dad goes up into the loft where Sam is and making an awful lot of noise in the hay. And the other brother stays down. And you see Kathleen going towards a little door, and she does open it, and then it cuts away, and then you hear the door being shut. And so does the second brother. He hears it and goes over there.
So we're supposed to think she's in there too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I never made that connection. I was just like, why is he shooting?
I had to rewind the scene a few times just because I was getting so lost,
Yeah, okay. That's why I was like, he looks like an idiot shooting a cabinet. And then when he opens it, and there's clearly nothing, there's no body in there.
No.
And then Kathleen literally gets the drop on him.
Yeah.
She
attacks him like a spider monkey. It was amazing.
And she manages to get the drop on him. Sam is able to wrestle him, surprises him. And in his surprise, the brother shoots the dad who's walked in. Be like, what's all the noise,
Yeah.
And so the dad is shot. They're able to knock that brother out, and so the main danger is over. Sam leaves Kathleen with the rifle to look over the dad while he goes and checks on Dean because he hasn't seen like a spider monkey. So Sam leaves Kathleen to watch over Daddy. And of course Daddy is still spewing filth and taunting her and making fun of killing her brother and calling her a bitch and blah blah blah. So Kathleen does the only thing she can do and shoots him dead.
Yep.
And I wrote, good girl. She we don't see it, we just know that she fired the gun and he's dead.
Yep. So Sam and Dean come out of the house. Dean is released, and Kathleen comes out of the barn on the other side of the property, and they're like, where's the little girl? We locked her in the closet. Where's the dad? It's like, shot, trying to escape.
Yep, lies right to them.
But they know, yeah, they say, okay. Fair enough.
I'm just going to say again, I loved her.
Yeah.
I loved every part of her.
Yeah.
So now she's back in cop mode. She's called for backup and basically tells Sam and Dean they need to skedaddle. They need to get out of town. I won't say anything about you being here, but you need to go. And of course, Dean, who kept saying this entire episode, is like, I don't mean to press my luck, because every time she agreed to do something to help him, he wanted one more thing. And he says again, I don't mean to press my luck, but You know, like there's no car here. You know,
Yeah, this is like, our car's back at the station. Could we get a ride? And she's like, why don't you start walking and just duck whenever somebody comes by?
And he's like, all right. So instead of doing the typical like drive away that we normally would see the Impala, you know, driving off, they get to do their like walk away banter instead of their drive away banter, which I still really liked.
Yeah. You know, they do end on a nice note with Kathleen. They say, we're very sorry about your brother. You know, this must have been really hard. And she says, I thought it would have been easier knowing what really happened, but it's kind of not.
See, just going to harken back to Nightmares, where the stepmother says, I've lost everybody, and Sam and Dean don't say anything, and that's just the end of their relation with her. Whereas here, you know, there's a nice closure wrap up. I mean, it doesn't end well for her, but they end with a sympathetic connection to her.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was missing for me from the previous episode.
Yeah.
But the more we talked about it, the more I realized maybe she didn't deserve it. So, and I loved this walk away too with Sam and Dean back to being brothers. Not that there's ever any real brotherly tension in this episode.
Yeah.
You know, they were thankful to find each other, and Dean says, you know, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, Sam is first he's teasing Dean for being worried about him. It's like, oh, you were worried about me? That's so cute. Yeah. And then he was just like, wait a minute, you mean to say that you let a 13-year-old girl get the best of you? and pulls Dean's line back on him. Says, getting a little rusty there, kiddo.
Shut up. Shut up. Yeah, so it was sweet, you know. And there was no like supernatural in this episode, you know. And while they did conquer, so to speak, the bad guys, it was actually, you know, with help from Kathleen that the bad guy was actually, quote, vanquished.
Yeah.
There's nothing supernatural, but they realized how evil humans are and how they were taken aback by not knowing how to deal with the evil side of humans.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they were completely, both times, they were taken off guard.
Yeah.
You know, Sam was captured, Dean was knocked out, you know, they didn't see it coming because it was humans and not the supernatural. Now, I had a question at an outstanding overall question. Sam is very much I don't want to say the humanitarian, because Dean isn't. Dean is a humanitarian, but Sam is always the one saying, we can't kill people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Dean is very black and white about things, and Sam kind of sees
you're a bad
more
guy,
of the
you
gray
deserve
area.
to die. Yeah, definitely. So I have of a mind. I'm like, these people were bad, they deserve to die.
Yeah.
How bad is so bad, or is too bad to let live? You know, Sam didn't say anything when Kathleen admitted that she, you know, well, she didn't admit, but when she said that the daddy is dead, you could see that Sam saw that she killed him.
Yeah. I think he also saw when he left her, you know, to go get Dean. He's like, you going to be okay? And she says, yep, I'm going to be fine. I think
he knew.
At that point, he knew, you know, he's not going to make it out of here alive.
Yeah. So I guess my question is for Sam, which is, what is his justification cutoff? You know, if Dean's not allowed to kill Max in the previous episode for killing people, why is Kathleen allowed to kill people? So, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just, this is my philosophical question at the end of this episode. And I don't need an answer. It was just something that came up. I was like, oh, people died. Humans died in this episode. And, you know, Sam had a chance to stop it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that makes him good or bad. It's just an interesting for me.
Well, I know in the last one, he felt a connection with Sam. Not Sam, Max. Because of his abilities, but he also knew the history of Max because he was beaten as a child.
Right.
And he could make that excuse for Max, I think. And then in the one before, which was Faith, I don't know, I don't really think he had a reason. He was just like, whatever his name, Roy, the preacher, was human. We don't kill humans. And then eventually Dean in that episode kind of came around. You know, he said, you know, Roy had no
really
idea. Realize,
he was innocent and all of that.
Innocent and all of that, and also with the wife said she was just trying to do everything that she could to save him. Then she kind of went off the deep end, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
maybe, and I don't know how much of the benders that Sam saw, but these people did not show any kind of remorse, or
They were just evil. I mean,
they were just evil. They literally said, we kill for fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a nice little wrap up. The bad guys died, but they were, they've made a point in previous episodes to, hold human life above the supernatural life. There you go.
Yep.
My question to the universe.
I am not confident you'll find an answer with the show because it doesn't really. Eventually, they stop exploring that.
Right. I can just close my notebook on that one.
Okay, so remember a few episodes ago I mentioned that I used to work at a haunted house?
Yeah. Yeah, like my niece did. Yeah.
Yes. So I worked at one in it's in a theme park called Worlds of Fun, which is in Kansas City, which is run by I think the Cedar Point or the Cedar Rapids people. I think they do. I think they run Carowinds as well. I think it's
really?
the same.
Oh, they do great. They do great scary stuff around Halloween.
Yeah, so they do 5 or 6 haunted houses within the park around Halloween time, and they're all a different theme. Main one that I did the first time was the vampire one, which was super fun because I'm a vampire nerd. I love the Anne Rice and the underworld and all of that. Not so much the Twilight, but Twilight wasn't a thing at the time. But the last one that I did was kind of like this. It was just a hillbilly Texas chainsaw kind of cannibalism theme. So everyone had on like red flannel or red checkered things. I think my outfit was like a coverall, not a coverall, I'm sorry, an overall skirt or shorty thing, because they were kind of like sexy, decrepit hillbilly cannibals. I'm going to pull up a picture and post it, or give it to you to post, I think, because the makeup, I didn't do the makeup. I wish that I had, but they occasionally would put like a wound on my forehead or on my cheek or something that had been like festering, so that it would be green. They would throw some maggots on there, and they would just like kind of look dead. But I remember the room that I liked to be in the most. There'd be like a big hunk of, it was like a hog or like a barrel or one of those bull riding things that didn't actually work. It was just something you could straddle on like a horse or a bull or something like that.
Right.
It was just like waving around like a dead pig's limb or something, and just like yelling at people or an axe. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but
oh my gosh.
So this was kind of like, yeah.
Like, hey.
I remember being, yeah, exactly.
Good times.
Oh, memories.
Oh my gosh, that's too fun. I could totally picture you doing that too.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for the Benders. Please follow us and like us and subscribe to us and rate us on all of the social media and wherever you can find podcasts. We are at Salt and Burn This Pod on Facebook and Instagram, and at Salt and Burn This on Twitter. Engage with us. Give us a comment. I totally forgot the word for what I was going to say.
Give us something to say.
Yes.
Help us with
something
our words.
To say. We're not good at the words. Anyway, we will see you next week for Shadow.
Shadow. Is it just shadow, not shadows? Just shadow?
Just the word shadow.
One word. We're back to the one words.
Only a few more, though. Gosh, we're closing in on the first season. That's crazy.
Oh, wow. What? So episode 16 is next.
Yes.
Sammy, look at us.
God, how many do we have left? Hold on. 6.
Wow, it's going to fly by. So by the end of summer. Even before the end of summer.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.